Well, we're back, guys. Welcome back to another video on the AJ Plays channel, and we're going with the pink theme here today. I don't know why, because I feel like pink. Anyways, this is what I'm thinking of every team. Like, I'm gonna consider, the draft position each team has, but I'm also just thinking about what the team has right now, based on how talented the rosters are. You may have also, heard me say a lot about talented rosters in the last video I did. However, today, all we're really focusing on is ranking each of the 8 teams based on roster strength, ceiling, how good their players are, just all that fun stuff. It's going to be a little bit controversial where I have some teams, but you got to hear me out. Let's just jump right into the first one, which honestly, this might be a little bit off the wall, but this is my honest opinion on right now who the best team in MLW is right now. Okay, this is going to get all of you riled up. Hear me out. Coastal Cobras, they got to be the best team in the league. That's what I'm currently going to consider them as, best team, okay? You're going to look at the squad and you're going to already see if there's a Cy Young winner on the mound. The reigning Cy Young champion is on the mound, Brendan Baranowski. He just had one of the best pitching seasons we've seen in a while. Then you also have a budding two-way superstar in Sawyer Bean, who will take a really big leap in 2023. He made great strides in 2022, and I see big things out of him in 2023. As for Davis, Flynn, and Durand, all three of them, power, contact, speed, everything you need, they have the depth in that lineup. Not to mention, there's Gus there for moral support, granted he can whiff a little bit, and there's also a draft pick. At the end of the day, these guys have the best constructed roster right now, but they came off a World Series appearance. Can they possibly get the job done this year? I think they can. I really have high hopes for the Cobras heading into 2023. Let's see what they can do. These guys are probably the very close second place to the Coastal Cobras. The Eastern Eagles slip right behind them. They probably have a very similar roster, except they have two-way superstars, Daniel Schultz and Dallas Allen. Dallas made incredible progress in 2022, and he really hit the gym this offseason. He's going to be a threat and a half on the mound. And Daniel Schultz had one of his best hitting seasons in a long time. I've been mistaken in my previous videos. Allen was just the batting champion, if I remember correctly. Zach Whalen to round out that three-man lineup. Because we need a four-man lineup, don't worry, there's Landon Urgaitis there to fill that role too. And you got Blade Walker to back things up. You're going to have another draft pick. You're going to have your depth now. You're going to have your core group of guys that you need to go out there and get the job done. My thing with you guys is you haven't proven to be able to win a playoff series yet. Recently, you haven't been able to win there. Can you get that job done? When you do, I feel like you're better than the Cobras because you have the ability to get the job done in the clutch moments, which the Eagles have really struggled in. They have all the talent. They have a lot of superstardom, but they lack the clutch factor. They need that if they want to make great strides in 2023. Eastern Eagles, fantastic team, but they're just missing that clutch factor that can really push them to becoming a dynasty in MLW. Next up, we got the Preds, another team that I said was in my top 3, and honestly, let's make it top 4 talented rosters in the league. Again, you're looking at that man on the right there. That's your reigning MVP, Ryan Kratz, the reigning MVP. He just does everything that you need from your number 1 guy. You have the supporting cast in Brendan Russell, Alec Borda, and Mac Hawley. Stephen McGlade, who's going to eat innings in your second pitcher role and get the job done there. I'm looking at this team, and the thing with them is that I'm thinking they have a lot of baseball experience, but there are guys like Hawley, Ramirez, McGlade, and possibly the draft pick they will have for this season that just lack the wiffle experience, and that's what's killing them. In a wiffle ball league, there's guys that are raw baseball players but not exactly whifflers. I do definitely feel like they just don't have as much of a skill set as guys on the Cobras and Eagles do. I personally think that the Preds can definitely contend for a World Series this season. They just fall short of the last 2 teams that I mentioned. They are talented, not as talented as the last 2, but damn, they're a team to watch out for. Well, I got the Mallards 4th. Now, don't come at me for not having the Diamondbacks here yet, but the Mallards are 4th. You got the best whiffler in the country. That kind of puts you above the Diamondbacks already, to begin with. I don't care that he's just won a World Series, but let's just keep going. Tommy Coughlin has fixed his career at the plate. He's become a revitalized superstar hitter. Caden Irwin shows so much potential on both sides of the ball. He's definitely going to improve. You got to also factor in that these guys do have a first overall pick that's upcoming. It's pre-draft, so he's not technically in the league yet, but I'm considering the impact that a player that talented is going to have on the Mallards. Overall, they don't really have the roster yet to clear the top 3. They have the potential to do damage in the playoffs. They really kept it close through all 14 innings they played with the playoff veterans at this point, Downtown Diamondbacks last season. I feel like one more two-way piece that they're going to get with that first overall pick, that last piece that's going to push them into championship status where they can really make a run at a World Series. Don't kill me when I'm right. Do not kill me when I'm right, because yes, the Diamondbacks have won the last 2 seasons in MLW. They've been World Series champions. Yes, their captain is probably a top 5 player of all time, but the team behind Jimmy Norp right now is just full of question marks. I love Shima, Heath, Flood, and Bennett, but they all had their inconsistencies last year. Shima and Heath turned up just in time for the playoffs, and that was really the push they needed to get them there. But remember, at a time they were like 2-7, they really were at the bottom of the league somehow. They bounced back, they won it, and that's great. But the Diamondbacks just, what's behind Jimmy Norp that's consistent enough to tell me that they're better than the previous 4 teams that I've mentioned? Who knows what they can do? Who knows if they can keep it up? I feel like this 6th overall pick could bring somebody fantastic that they need. You never know what can happen with the late pick in the draft. They really just need to find some more consistency and someone who can deliver behind Jimmy Norp. It can't just be the Norp show the entire way. There's got to be some help there. There really has to be. That's why I got them at number 5. They're a World Series champion. They got a top 5 player in the league, maybe of all time. But who's behind him? Okay, this is hard, man. Like, okay, I give the Wildcats a lot of crap about not being the most consistent team. But let's be honest, a team with the GOAT of MLW, one of the better, like, he's definitely a top 2-way player in the league in Nick Saylor. An improving Jackson Pearson. The 3rd overall pick will really help them. Ty Smith, who knows what's up with him. But they do have a talented roster, and I'll give them that. The consistency issue is just lingering with me all the time. They showed last year that they were mediocre at best. They got destroyed in the ALDS, but they feasted on the Magic, the Gators, and that was enough to get them in the playoffs, to make them look like a contender at the 2 seed. Statistically, all the stats were inflated. I don't know. I really don't know with the Wildcats this season. Can Kyle Schultz return to form on the mound and be as dominant as we remember him to be in years like up to 2021 even? But the Wildcats are just so confusing right now that's why I got them this low on the list. Obviously, you're not going to go lower than the last 2 teams I got here. But there are teams right now with much brighter futures, and they showed a lot more in 2022 of how they can do this year than what the Wildcats did last year, because they were an easy exit out of the first round of the playoffs. Like, they just got booted. So that's why I got them low on my power rankings this year. There is no way in hell anybody's going to disagree with me on the last 2 teams that I got placed here. You got the Great Lakes Gators, and then you know who's the last team is because I haven't mentioned them yet. But anyways, Great Lakes Gators last year, last-ditch attempt to make the playoffs. You know what? Let's go ahead and trade 2 years worth of draft picks for granted at the time he was heating up, and I even say this in previous videos, Jason Chadwick. He gets along with the Trenton boys, so that works great. But they put up a good fight against the Wildcats, and the Wildcats still get rid of them. So the Gators right now, we really just don't know what can we expect of them. They don't have any draft capital for 2 seasons now, and they got to run a 4-man lineup of Chadwick, Cheatham, Jorgensen, and Zorlag, okay? That's what they're going to be running with. Do these guys have enough? Can they return to their prime? Can they go back to what we remember seeing them as? Because if they don't go back to their 2020 and 2021 forms, then the Gators could be in very serious trouble, and a team like the Metro Magic, who has their pick, is going to have a nice high draft selection in the upcoming MLW draft in 2024, that is. Long story short, the Gators, they have a lot to prove this year. Can this group actually return to form, mesh well? Can they contend? Who really knows? There's a lot of question marks around these guys, but you know what? They, just based on the talent of these guys alone and that they actually had some chance last year, that's why I'm putting them ahead of the number 8 team, which you guys already know. So let's just go talk about the Metro Magic. I'm not really going to waste too much time on these guys. We know the drill. It's the Metro Magic. You know, last year we thought they could contend. Everything went disastrous for them, and they traded away their franchise icon. What's left? They have a top 2 pick, which they can definitely use to draft somebody of good caliber. Then they also have a guy like Trevor Bonham, who is a star on the mound, and we know he can be that guy. There is just so many issues regarding depth. Like, we don't know what's going to happen to a guy like Jordan Curdy, Liam Jackson, Jack Agner, James Swanson. These are guys that are on the roster, but who knows what they're gonna do. It can only get better from here for the Magic, because they had a disastrous year that, like, there's nothing that went right. This year something's gonna go right for them. At the end of the day, the Metro Magic can only go up from here. It's just a very, very steep hill to climb to get back into relevance. Can they make the playoffs? Highly doubt it. Can they at least win 5 games? Damn, I hope so, but let's see what happens in this year. Well, that's pretty much it. I mean, just to give a quick recap, the Cobras and the Eagles, they're definitely, probably, in my opinion, top 2 teams. Cobras just have the World Series experience under their belt. This Eagles team right now really does not. Preds, they just have a more raw baseball team, while the Mallards, who knows right now, they just don't have that solidified third bat in the lineup or that solidified second pitcher on the mound that can rotate in and out with Robles. Diamondbacks have a lack of depth. Wildcats, just inconsistency. And for the Gators and Magic, it's self-explanatory that those guys need help and they're at the bottom of the league right now. But otherwise, those are my pre-draft power rankings, guys. Let me know if you guys have any other opinions on these teams in the comments. I feel like I nailed some of the issues that they got on the head, but there's probably a few things that I missed. Let me know about those down below so I don't make these mistakes again and probably don't look like a buffoon on the internet, because what else is new? Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I'm going to see you guys all next time. Peace out.